In my last video, I highlighted my top 4 NFL teams and a few honorable mentions, but this time we're flipping the script completely. We're going to be focusing on the league's worst teams. Based on factors like record, future outlook, and other key considerations, I'll be sharing my personal picks for the 3 teams most deserving of the unfortunate title of worst team in the NFL. The Giants, the Browns, and the Raiders headline this list and are each struggling with unique issues such as poor management, lackluster performances, and bleak futures. I'll also be touching on a few honorable mentions that, while not quite bottom 3 material, still warrant discussion in this unenviable category. Before diving into the list, though, I do want to address teams like the Patriots and Jaguars. While their current seasons may not be stellar, I didn't include them in this discussion because I believe they have far better future outlooks compared to the teams I've chosen. But with that being said, if you disagree with me or if you have your own top 3, make sure to share them in the comments below, and let's get right into the video. First up on the honorable mentions list, we have the New York Jets. The Jets are a team with undeniable talent, but they have an uncertain future that keeps them hovering near the league's bottom. Offensively, they boast playmakers such as Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Braylon Allen, and veteran wide receiver Devontae Adams. On defense, the Williams brothers and Sauce Gardner, who has had a bit of a slump this season, are players any team would envy. However, the Jets' most glaring issues lie in their instability at quarterback and head coach. The decision to fire head coach Robert Saleh earlier in the season proved to be a questionable move. Interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich has won less games with Aaron Rodgers as Saleh had with Zach Wilson last season. I'm just going to let that sit for a second because that's crazy to say out loud. The leadership shakeup appears to have done more harm than good and has left this team adrift. Aaron Rodgers is the centerpiece of this team and was the centerpiece of their offseason. He's 41 years old and he's recovering from a significant injury, casting doubt over his future in the league and even with the organization. Meanwhile, the Jets' playoff drought is now tied for longest in North American professional sports at 13 years. The Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez days were the last time this team made the playoffs. Without addressing their coaching stability and long term quarterback situation, they risk squandering the promise of their star studded roster and continuing to frustrate this fan base and their legacy of underachievement. And now, next up on this list, we have the New Orleans Saints. The Saints may not have the worst record in the league, but their current state paints a very grim picture of an unmotivated team with a very bleak future. Veterans such as Demario Davis and Alvin Kamara have been standout players for years, and both are likely on their way out, either through retirement or new destinations in their near future. Compounding the problem, the Saints made the decision to fire head coach Dennis Allen after a dismal 2-7 start to the season. While the move may have been necessary, the timing midseason left the team rudderless, and interim leadership has really struggled to rally the squad around them. Offensively, the team is directionless. Derek Carr has not been the answer at quarterback, and Spencer Rattler, his supposed replacement, has failed to show he's capable of handling NFL competition and defenses. The lack of a long-term plan at quarterback has left the team in limbo. With no clear path to improvement, the Saints roster doesn't look much better on paper either, and with many of their key players aging or out of their primes or injured, and very little young talent stepping up to take their place, this roster needs an absolute upheaval. They need a organizational overhaul, starting from the front office, extending into the coaching staff, player personnel, and even the players. Drafting a franchise quarterback should probably be their top priority, along with bringing in a young, innovative head coach who can energize the locker room and modernize their offensive strategy. While the Saints have historically been a proud franchise, they're currently at a crossroads and it will take significant changes to prevent a complete collapse in the coming years. Head coach candidates such as Joe Brady or Ben Johnson are good candidates who could direct this Saints team into a promising future. And last but not least on this honorable mentions list, we have the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are a team that seem to be moving in the right direction towards the end of the season, but they do still find themselves among the league's worst due to inconsistency and a lack of proven success. Earlier in the season, many questioned the hiring of head coach Dave Canales and the draft pick of Bryce Young. But Canales has since managed to breathe life into the Panthers' offense and has reignited Bryce Young's development and turning what looked like into a disastrous sophomore season for the former first overall pick into a very promising one. Despite this progress, though, this team is still 4-12, and this record reflects many of the hurdles that still lie ahead for this Panthers team. The roster features young players with potential such as Bryce Young, Chuba Hubbard, Xavier Legette, etc., and these players have shown flashes. They do remain unproven and must develop significantly to transform the team into a real contender. On the positive side, though, their division is one of the weakest in the NFL, with aging quarterbacks, which is offering them a window of opportunity if the organization can build around its young core. Still, though, this franchise does have a long way to go. While Canales has managed to stabilize the team to some degree, the Panthers do need to be aggressive in free agency and the draft and nail upcoming drafts to fill glaring holes. A competent offensive line, more reliable weapons for Young, and a defensive upgrades are essential for sustained success. While the Panthers may not be in as dire of a situation as some other teams, they still have much to prove before they can climb out of the NFL's basement. Heading into the top three worst teams in the NFL, we have the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are a team filled with talent, but burdened by a glaring shortcoming that keeps them from achieving consistent success. Their biggest issue, though, is at quarterback. Deshaun Watson, once a rare talent in Houston, has been a shadow of his former self since joining Cleveland. His career worst performances this season have only been exacerbated by his Achilles injury, which adds even more uncertainty to his future. While Watson's struggles may partially stem from the media scrutiny surrounding his past that I'm not going into at all, his hesitancy and uninspired play has hurt the team's offensive rhythm. The Browns, though, have offensive weapons like tight end David Njoku and wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, who has started to break out under quarterback Jameis Winston. However, they suffered a devastating blow with Nick Chubb's season-ending foot injury, which raises serious questions about his long-term viability in the league. Once considered a generational running back, Chubb's repeated injuries may make him too risky for the Browns or any team to rely on moving forward. And defensively, the Browns have had a lack of spark necessary to dominate games, and they desperately need affordable role players who can contribute consistently. Overall, though, the Browns' future does look grim, and despite occasionally competing with divisional rivals like the Ravens and Steelers, the organization has failed to win and find a winning formula overall, and until they stabilize their quarterback situation and build a deeper roster on both sides of the ball, Cleveland will remain a team stuck in the bottom of the NFL with little to no hope of a brighter future. Next up on our list is the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are a team with talent scattered across their roster, but no clear direction moving forward. The quarterback position has been a glaring issue all season, and Aiden O'Connell has shown flashes of potential, but his inconsistency and lack of big playability makes it hard for me to see him as their long-term answer. Head coach Antonio Pierce has shown some improvement from Josh McDaniels' era, but the team's front office has been a perennial problem and continues to fail at building a cohesive roster, which leaves the Raiders without the pieces needed to compete in a tough AFC West. Defensively, though, Max Crosby is one of the few bright spots, consistently performing at an all NFL level. However, the rest of the defense, while statistically decent, hasn't really been able to carry the underwhelming performances of the offense's lack of being able to sustain drives and capitalize on opportunities. Pierce has brought energy to a team and helped secure some wins, but whether he's the long term solution remains uncertain. Ownership and management must decide if they're ready to commit to Pierce long term or maybe pursue another option in the offseason. The Raiders' recent 25-10 victory over the Saints, though, shows that they can occasionally compete, but it doesn't mask their deeper issues. Moving forward, the Raiders needed significant changes, starting with identifying a clear quarterback for the future, probably through the draft, and finding stability in their coaching and front office leadership. Without these fixes, though, the Raiders are likely to remain stuck in a frustrating cycle of inconsistency and underachievement. And last but not least, we have the Seattle Seahawks. Just kidding. It's the New York Giants. No surprise to anybody. They are by far the league's worst team this season, and they're the poster child for dysfunction from the team's play, from the coaching, from the general manager's position, from the ownership position, all of it. And they did just have an impressive win over the Colts with backup quarterback Drew Lock. The team still remains in shambles. Head coach Brian Daboll has shown some flashes of brilliance, earning himself more time to turn things around, but the real blame lies within the front office, I believe. General manager Joe Schoen's decision to let Saquon Barkley walk in free agency and hand Daniel Jones a $40 million contract instead was a catastrophic decision. Barkley is now thriving with the divisional rival Philadelphia Eagles and is making himself an MVP candidate while the Giants' offense sputters week week after week. The Giants do have some few bright spots though. Rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors looks like a future starter, and rookie running back Tyrone Tracy shows potential as a dynamic weapon. But this team has also done well in recent drafts, which is giving fans some hope for the future. But these positives are overshadowed by poor management decisions and an overall just lack of direction. Even when the Giants win, they seem to lose, as their recent victory over the Colts dropped them out of the race for the #1 overall pick. Without significant changes in leadership and a clearer long-term plan, the Giants are destined to remain at the bottom of the league for years to come. And that's a wrap on today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the NFL's worst teams, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment down below and let me know if you agree or disagree with my picks. Feel free to share your own list of the league's worst teams. Also, don't forget to check out the Sports Gambling Discord, where we're building a community to talk all things sports. It's free to join, and I'd love to have you be a part of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.